Well, congratulations. You have completed 2 packets now, and you are on the 3rd grammar packet, which is verbs. In this video, we're going to go over action verbs and helping verbs. There's actually one other type of verb, which is a linking verb. But for today, action verbs and linking verbs. So there are 2 types of action verbs. First, there's a visible action, which is the kind that you can see. So you could see someone walking, you could see someone running, you could see someone standing and eating. So those are all actions. Now, those are all visible. Now, mental is one that you couldn't see. So if someone is wondering, thinking, or believing, that's a mental action that's not able to be seen. So let's keep those in mind as we look at these sentences. We're going to double underline the action verb in the following sentences and put AV above it. Then we'll label the rest of the sentence as we have been doing in class. Now, when I look at sentences, I prefer to start with the subject. So when we look at number 1, people made vinegar in ancient times. Sorry, that dot is not supposed to be there. Then first, I'm talking about who is doing the action of this sentence. What is this sentence about? Well, it is about vinegar, but what we're wondering is who made the vinegar. So people is our subject, and then our verb is made. It's what were they doing? What did they do? They made. Now this is visible. We can see them doing this action, so it's an action verb. It looks like there's nothing else that we've learned through our packets. You can probably see that this kind of stands on its own. So this is a prepositional phrase. If you have done that packet yet, then you'll need to label that. Number 2, ancient Babylonians cooked with it. Now, who is this about who did the action? Well, the Babylonians are the ones who cooked. And what kind of Babylonians? Well, they are ancient. So you've already learned adjectives. Now, what we're talking about here is verbs. What did the Babylonians do? Well, you know that they cooked. It is a verb that we can see them completing this action. It's an action verb. If you have learned prepositional phrases, then this is your prep and this is your NOP. All right, 3. Hippocrates prescribed it to his patients. Who is this about? Hippocrates. What did he do? He prescribed. We can see him writing out the prescription, so we know that this is an action verb. And then 2, his patients. If you have learned prepositional phrases, then this is your prep and your NOP. And you would say, which of his patients, which one? His would answer that and would be your adjective. 4, campers treat rashes and bites with it. Campers is our subject. What do? They treat. Now you can see them doing this, so it's an action verb. Then we see a conjunction here. Bad box. The word and then with it is our prepositional phrase. Prep and NOP. Final sentence practicing action verbs. People make vinegar from many kinds of fruits and vegetables. People is our subject. What do? They make, action verb. And then we have from, many kinds, and of fruits and vegetables being phrases, and is our conjunction. I realized that I forgot something here. You would say how many or how much. So many would be an adjective modifying kinds. So these are things that you should have already learned. What's important here is the action verbs. Okay, now this is important. This little note at the bottom of the page. It says, note, be careful to notice infinitives. These are phrases with, here it is, to plus a verb. They don't stand as a main verb in a sentence. Okay, for example, to walk, to eat, to run, to think, to spell, to talk. Those are simply infinitives. They're not a main verb. So let's look at this practice down here. I love to walk. Well, hopefully from what we just learned, you see that to plus a verb is an infinitive. We don't label them, but they help us understand what is the main verb and what is the infinitive. So if I looked at this sentence, I would be my subject, and then love is the mental action, but it is still our action verb. To walk, we don't have to deal with that right now because that's an infinitive. Okay, so that is our action verbs. Next, we are going to look at helping verbs. Well, it's important to look at the word help inside of helping verbs because helping verbs help. That is their job. That means they must be used with the main verb to make a verb phrase. There may be one or more words that interrupt a verb phrase. So you see, it would be instead of some people do being our helping verb and then eat being our action verb, this word not interrupts that. We'll explain what that is later. Like later in another packet. The word not, oh, hello, no, I'll explain it right now. The word not is an adverb. It's not part of the verb phrase. So we'll talk about adverbs in another packet. Now, there are 23 helping verbs. A phrase to help you remember them is maybe Mr. Do should have a will. So under the word may, you have must and might. Under be, these are some important ones. Am, is, are, was, were, be being been. You have does, did, do, does, did, should, could, would, have, has, had, will, shall, can. If you memorize these, you will do fabulously on these packets. If you don't, then you need to keep looking back at this page. All right, she did complete her chores well. Well, we'll start with the subject. This is about she. And then we can tell what kind of chores her. All right, so those are ones that we already know. Now we just learned action verbs, so we can see that complete is an action that we could see her doing. So therefore we label it AV for action verb. Now this word did, if we look up at our chart, we see did in our chart. It is helping the word complete. It is a helping verb. Okay, next one. Ted might give the dog a treat. Sorry, that dot shouldn't be there. Okay, what is our subject? Well, who is doing the action? It is Ted. We know that the is a noun indicator. We know that is a noun indicator. Now, what we're learning is verbs. Give, we just learned in the last page, is an action. We can see Ted handing a treat to the dog. We label it action verb. Well, if we look up at our chart, we can see the word might under may, so we know it's a helping verb. We can label it helping verb because of that. But we can also think, well, it comes before another verb, so it has to be helping. Here, look over to the side. If you ever have a sentence with one verb, there is no way it could be helping. If you have a sentence with two or more verbs, then always the verb that comes before another verb is a helping verb, always. Okay? So let's look at this last confusing one. Will you go to the concert? This one is a question. That means that it's kind of been curved around from what would help us to make it a question. So we're going to curve it back with a statement. So instead of the question, will you go to the concert, we're going to make it a statement to say, you will go to the concert. Period. We took it from a question and we made it a statement. Now with this statement, we should label it. So our subject is you. You are the one who's going. If you've learned prepositional phrases, this is a prepositional phrase. And you should definitely know that the is a noun indicator. Now, will go. Well, we know that go is an action verb because we could see someone going to the concert. Now, will, it has to be, remember what I said up here, if you have two verbs, then any of the first verbs have to be a helping verb because it's helping the word go. It's helping us know that it's going to happen in the future. It is a helping verb. Also, to double check, we can come up here. We see